So today is actually 4:30. Oops. Not the 26th, but since we didn't do this opener on Friday, or Thursday, excuse me, we're going to go ahead and do it today. So it's actually the 30th, the last day of April. So when we're using the MA method and the area model to factor, we have 5 steps we're going to follow. Step 1, it says determine the M and determine the A. The M is the first coefficient times the third coefficient. Now, when I say the first coefficient and the third coefficient, basically it's just the number, the first and third number. So we're going to take the first times the third number, which equals
48.
Okay, so we're going to take 6 times 8, and we're going to get 48. Then my A is just my second coefficient. What's my A here?
19.
Yeah, 19. Now, step 2, we have to determine what numbers can we multiply together to get the M, but then use those same 2 numbers and add them together to get the A. It's called the MA. So we're going, what 2 factors can we multiply together to get the M, and then add together to get the A? So what I do, I go through and I write my factors real fast. So 1 times 48 equals 48. What's 1 plus 48? Too many. 2 times what gets me to 48? 24. So 2 plus 24 gets me to too many. 3 times what gets me to 48?
16.
16 plus 3 equals?
19.
So right here is my MA. So I just circle it. Okay? Now I'm ready to write the areas in each of the boxes using the numbers from step 2 from the top right and bottom left boxes. It does not matter if you use your 3 here and your 16 there, or if you put your 16 here and your 3 here. Does not matter. The only thing that'll matter, your final answer will just be flipped. But it's fine because your answer will still be right as long as you did the other steps. So I'm going to go ahead and put my 3 in the upper right and my 16 in the bottom left. So 3 and 16. Now 3 plus 16 equals my 19e, right? So because that coefficient has a variable e on it, what should I put with my 16 and my 3? An e. Okay. Now, the last step, we're going to go ahead and continue filling in our areas for each rectangle. So what's the area for my top left?
6e squared.
6e squared. And bottom right?
8.
Just 8. Good. So now we move to the next step. It says factor the top row of rectangles using the greatest common factor. So we're going to look at this top row right here. And we're going to find the greatest common factor for 6 and 3. You can do this in 2 ways. If you know what the greatest common factor is automatically, you do not have to make the factor trees. But if you don't, then you're going to need to do the factor trees. What you can think of though, what's the largest number that both 3 and 6 can be divided by? Okay, if we don't know that, so then what we'll do, we'll come up here. I'm going to make my factor trees. So 6, what 2 numbers can I multiply together to get 6? 2 and 3. What about for 3? It's just 3, right? So if I come over here and write this, I'm going to write 2 times 3, but for 3 it's just 3, or 1 times 3. So what factor, or what number do they both share? 3. So my greatest common factor is 3. So I'm going to put that in my top left. Now we have to look at our variables. What variable do they also share? Because it's e squared and e. Yeah, so 3e. So that becomes my height. The last step now is just fill out the rest of your area model. So if we know the height and we know the total area, what information am I missing? If I know the height and I know the total area, what information am I missing? What is that called? The width. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and put in here 3e times something will get me to the area. 3e times something will get me to this area. So what I like to do my numbers first, then my variables. So I think to myself, 3 times what will get me to 6?
2.
Okay. I have 1e up here but I need another E because there's 2 E's down here. So how many E's do I need to put in there with that 2? 1. Now, because I want to make sure I label all sides of my area model, I also bring that 2E up there to represent the width of that rectangle. Okay? So then I go to the next rectangle. 3 times what will get me to 3? 1. I have 1E up here in my height and 1E here in my area, so do I need any more E's? No. So the width of this rectangle is just 1. Okay? Now I need to come out and fill my bottom row. I have my areas, so I need to know my height and my width. What other information do I have about these bottom rectangles? I know the area. Do I know the height? No. Do I know the width? Yeah. What's the width of this one here? What's
2E.
Yeah, 2E. We just bring that width straight down. And remember, we always do the height times the width. So we bring the width down in the width position. So then do we know the width of my second one here?
1.
Yeah, it's 1. So I'm just going to bring that 1 down. So now I'm trying to identify what the height is. So what times 2E will get me to 16E? 8. If I plug in that 8 on the other rectangle, will 8 times 1 equal 8? Yeah, so it works. So what's the height of this area model? 8. Oh my goodness. Am I done yet?
Yeah.
No.
What?
Not yet. What do I have to do now?
Do it from least to greatest.
Well, I gotta write my final answer, right? So here was the area. This is the area of the rectangle. Area equals what times what? What's the formula for area? Area equals, so height times width. So now we have to write our answer. So, what's my height?
3E plus 8
And what should I put around that?
parentheses,
And then what's my width?
2E plus 1.
Parentheses and box it. There it is. Yes, sir. Did anybody flip their numbers? Did anybody use 16 here? And 3 here? Okay. If you did, it would be fine. I mean, your greatest common factor would be different. But instead of having 3E plus 8, 2E times 2E plus 1, your answer would be 2E plus 1 times 3E plus 8. So those would just flip. Absolutely. Yep. Your greatest common factor would be different,
Yeah.
but your final answer would be the same, just flipped. All right. So use the MA method again. First thing I need to do is find my M and my A. Nick, how do I find my M? What about him? Yeah. So to find my M, I'm going to take the first coefficient times the third coefficient. So 4 times 6 equals, okay. Darius, how do I find my A? Yeah, it's the second coefficient, which is, okay. So that's step 1. Step 2, find what I can multiply together to get 24, but then use those same numbers and add them together to get 11. So what are my factors of 24, Brendan? Well, let's start with 1 times 24. If I add those together, what I get?
Bless you.
Okay. So if I take 2 times what? And that, if I add those together, what do I get? If I take 2 times 12, I get 24. But what if I add 2 plus 12? What do I get? Okay. Too many? 3 times what gets me to 24?
3 and 8.
Brendan, if I take 3 plus 8, what do I get? So is that my MA? All right, I'm going to circle that. Daria, I already picked on you. Devontae, what do I do with this 3 and 8? I already did that. I already found the M and A. So what do I do with the MA now that I found it? What do I do with these two numbers?
each,
It doesn't matter.
it don't matter which block I'm doing?
It does matter which block, but it doesn't matter which order.
Oh, no, I'm trying to see which block.
Upper right, bottom left.
Upper right, bottom.
Need some help, Devontae? Okay. Anybody know what to do? Rihanna, help him out.
Don't you put your numbers in the box?
Where? Which ones?
The ones that. Don't you put the 8 in the last box?
Nope.
Oh, in the first one.
Okay, you want me to put the 8 here?
No, the other one.
This?
Upper right, bottom left.
Here?
Yeah.
Okay, so bottom left. So I'm going to put the 8 in the bottom left. Could I put the 3 there too?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and then what do I do with the 3?
Put it in upper right.
Upper right. Could I put the 8 there if I wanted to?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can switch those. Now, because this has to equal 11, what's the variable that I should put with the 3 and the 8? Good. Now, the MA represents the area of those rectangles. I'm missing 2 areas. What area do I put in that first rectangle? Jemiah?
Don't you put 4 each?
Sure do. And what about the bottom right?
11.
No.
6E? You mean 6?
6. The reason why I wouldn't put 11E is because this here got me to that. Okay? So that 11E is split between these 2 boxes with the 3 and 8. All right. Who can tell me what I need to do from here? Greatest common factor. What's the greatest common factor for 4 and 3?
Wait.
1 or 2.
Well, let's look. So I have 4. If I factor it, it's 2 times 2. And if I have 3, I can't factor it, can I? It's just 3. So do they share any number?
No.
Except for 1.
Yeah, they don't share anything except for, as Haley was saying, a 1.
Barely even one.
Every number shares 1.
Oh, yeah.
That's all right, it's Monday. So my greatest common factor for this one is going to be 1. What is the variable that I should put with it? E, bless you. Do I need to have that 1 with it?
No.
I don't have to. I can leave it there. It doesn't matter. So that becomes my height. So I'm going to go ahead and plug my height in each area or each rectangle here, because I like to make sure I'm showing all my work.
Can I get a pencil? I mean, an eraser?
What do you need? You just about named everything. Yeah, I think in that wire basket, I have a pencil with the eraser if you want to switch them out. I don't know if it's sharpened though. Okay, so now I have my height, I have my area, and I need to find my, what? Width. So I think to myself, 1 times what gets me to 4? 4. I have 1E up here, I need 2, so it's going to be,
40.
4E.
okay. I go to my next. Thank you, Ms. Schubert. I go to my next rectangle. 1 times what gets me to 3?
3.
Okay. I have 1E up here. I have 1 down here. Do I need another one? No. What did I forget to do?
Put them at the side.
Yeah, make sure you then bring the width to the top of each rectangle to show all my work here. What could I immediately do after I brought the widths to the top? I could also immediately just bring them straight down to the bottom too, right? So what's the bottom width of this rectangle here? And then what's the other width?
30.
So I'm just going to bring those straight down. So this last part of my area model, I'm now needing to find the height. Yeah, and we know it's going to be the height because it's height times width. Well, I'm missing that height number. So what can I multiply by 4e to get 80?
You got a quiz today?
What can I multiply by the 4e to get 80? 2. If I plug in a 2 times 3, does that get me to 6?
Yep.
Yeah, so then I know my height is 2. Now remember, again, this is my area. So area equals height times width. So I need to write my answer, my height times width. So what's my height here?
1E plus 2. And then you want to
Parentheses.
yeah.
So that's my height times my,
I have a question.
what's my width?
4 E plus 3.
And then make sure you box it.